Thank you for joining us. Please welcome CU Solutions Group President and Chief Operating Officer, Drew Egan.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the Michigan Credit Union League and CU Solutions Group Annual Convention and Exposition. It's my pleasure to welcome you this morning and to kick things off. But before I tell you about this morning's program, I want to just thank a couple of groups of people. First of all, to those that attended yesterday's charity golf event, we thank you for your participation. We had 160 golfers, and between the golf event yesterday and the auction over the next couple of days, we should raise over $80,000 for Credit Unions for Kids. So thank you very much for attending. I also want to thank those of you that attended the Corks for a Cause fundraiser last night. We sold out all the wine that we brought, and that event raised over $5,000 for the Michigan Credit Union Foundation. So thank you for that. We have a great program lined up for you this morning. We're going to kick things off with CUSG Chairman Pete Gates, who's going to give you a brief overview of what CUSG has been all about the last year. And then we'll hear from our good friend Pat McFarland, Director of the Department of Insurance and Financial Services. I'm sure you all remember him as the former CEO of MSU Federal Credit Union. We'll be delighted to hear from him. Following Pat, our governor is here, Rick Snyder, who will make some remarks and who has some especially great news for Michigan credit unions. And then our keynote speaker, Alex Sheen, who is the founder of the international nonprofit organization Because I Said I Would. So we have a great program, and we'll get things kicked off with me introducing Pete Gates. Pete told me that all I needed to remember about his bio is that his name is Pete. But you'll see after I finish introducing him why he's become such a great leader, not only here in Michigan, but across the country. Pete joined us here in Michigan in 1998 as the new president and CEO of Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union. A credit union that serves over 100,000 members with over $1.6 billion in assets. In addition to his responsibilities as the CEO of that credit union, as I mentioned, he's our chairman, does a great job, chairman of CU Solutions Group. He's also the chairman of Michigan Business Connection, one of our Ann Arbor-based business lending CUSOs here in the state. And then he's a director of Aloya Corporate Credit Union. He's also a member of the Board of Trustees as a director at the Henry Ford Macomb Hospital. So keeps his services going at all times. His credit union roots are really pretty deep and begin with his family life. His father and some colleagues formed an educators credit union in the 50s, which operated out of their home. His dad was the general manager. And when the credit union grew to a size sufficient to move out of the home, then his mother became the manager. So deep credit union roots. Pete has a bachelor's degree in business administration and an MBA with an emphasis in finance. He got his credit union start at United Railway Credit Union in St. Paul, Minnesota. And during his tenure there, he was there 16 years, served his last 6 as CEO. During his tenure there, they moved from Minnesota to Fort Worth, Texas, and then following that, he joined us here in Michigan in 1998. He lives in Shelby Township, Michigan, with his wife of 33 years, Joanna, and they have 3 grown children. He enjoys golf. He's quite a golfer, as well as family time. He's become a great friend to many of us, and especially to CU Solutions Group. So help me give a good warm welcome to Chairman Pete Gates.
That was way more than Pete. So, hey, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this Thursday kickoff And this gives me an opportunity, as chairman of CUSG, to reinforce some of the important things that CUSG does in support of the Michigan Credit Union League. MCUL now enjoys 100% affiliation, the highest affiliation rate in the United States, and of a league that size. And in addition, the MCUL relies on less than 10% of its funding from credit union dues from Michigan credit unions. Michigan credit unions pay the lowest dues in the nation, and yet we enjoy the highest level of service. We have excellent representation in Lansing. We provide outstanding professional compliance support, and we have an annual statewide multi-million-dollar cooperative advertising fund supporting Michigan credit unions. All of this is made possible by CUSG's financial support. Last year, MCUL recognized $5.5 million in revenue from CUSG, as well as a $2.3 million dividend. CUSG also provided $1 million in CU Link advertising funds, a contribution of $350,000 to the issue advocacy fund, A Stronger Financial Michigan, and another $1 million in supplemental advertising to promote initiatives important to Michigan credit unions. There's no question that the Michigan Credit Union League makes CU Solutions Group stronger, and CU Solutions Group makes the Michigan Credit Union League stronger as well. As the chairman, I'd like to thank all of you for making this possible. We have an outstanding league. We have strong support from our league representatives. We have low dues structure and first-rate services. Today's sessions focus on advocacy and industry issues that affect us all. And as chairman of CUSG, I'm honored to be up here to kick off the show. So with no further ado, let's get started. Our next speaker is a household name in the credit union industry. The MCUL 2013 Distinguished Service Award winner spent 41 years at MSU Federal Credit Union, where he was CEO, and 14 years where he was CEO. His leadership helped grow the credit union to over 180,000 members and $2.6 billion in assets. Pat McFarland retired from MSU Federal Credit Union in March of 2015, and barely a month later, he was appointed to the head of Michigan's Department of Insurance and Financial Services, which regulates the insurance industry, banks, and credit unions in the state of Michigan. And in this role, the director not only regulates these sectors, he's responsible for promoting and growing the industries in Michigan. Pat has played an instrumental role in helping credit unions achieve sensible regulation. And of particular importance, Pat took a personal role during the legislative process and helped craft a deal that ultimately worked its way to the governor's desk. While no surprise, we certainly have been gratified to have a DIFS director with a hands-on approach. So please help me in welcoming Pat McFarland to the stage.
Thank you, Pete. That was pretty nice. I was a little concerned what he might say about me. Good morning, everybody. Wow, that was good enough. First, thank you to the Michigan Credit Union League for the opportunity to say a few things this morning. And I would really like to start with really thanking all of you for what you do every day at your credit unions. You actually make a difference in the life of your members. You lead your credit unions to satisfy the needs of the members, and although it doesn't seem like a lot because you just do it day to day, via your leadership, you improve their quality of life and you help drive the economy in the state of Michigan. And for that, I want to thank you very, very much. You know, all those loans make a difference, right? Not only does it fulfill somebody's dream to have a car, a house, or maybe even gas for their car, but it also means that they make purchases here in Michigan, and it creates more jobs and makes the cycle positive, and we really need that. In fact, when the governor appointed me to this job, or actually interviewed me, which was sort of interesting, he stressed the importance of financial institutions to the economy of Michigan and for the welfare of the citizens of Michigan. And especially those of you in small communities, you know that your credit union is the place that everybody goes for financial services and advice. So I want to thank you for everything you do. You know, the governor said I should try to help economic activity, and you do all the work for me and I get credit, so I thank you very much. That was absolutely great. And the second priority he gave actually is part of your core culture. The governor wanted DIFS, the department that I run, to be more focused on consumer protection and consumer education. Gee, does that sound sort of like credit union goals, right? The mere fact that you run your credit union to satisfy the member, make them happy, treat them fair, honest, and with respect is the ultimate consumer protection, right? Because you care and you try to do the right thing. And so I thank you for that also. So that's 2 off my list, and I didn't do a doggone thing, so thank you. I would like to pause and maybe give you a quick commercial on DIFS. You may not be aware that DIFS has a call center and online service where you can have your members contact us when they have problems with a financial institution, a credit union, a bank, an insurance company, a payday lender, not that they would ever have any problems. But we have staff trained to help. So if a member's in your office or on the phone and says, I'm not getting service from my insurance company, I can't get it paid, my claim, and I need help, help them, but then send them to us also, and we'll help either get it so they understand the situation legally and by the contract, or help them get the claim paid. And we do that on a daily basis, basically. In fact, because I like stories better than just talking, I'll tell you a story that happened just last month. So we had the daughter of an 80-year-old lady call DIFS to file a complaint. And her mother, and this really irritates me, so I might get a touch emotional during it, but her mother had $1 million annuity, and an insurance agent talked her into cashing it in early and reinvesting in a new annuity so that he could get the commission. Sizable commission, obviously. Well, she paid, I believe it was a $144,000 penalty to cash in the certificate. Doesn't that make you kind of sick to your stomach? Could that be your mom or grandmom? You know, that just is not right. Well, the staff got the insurance company where the investment was made to cancel the transaction, got the insurance company where the original investment was to waive the penalty and reinstate the annuity, and everything went back to day one go. And you know, she was happy, the daughter was happy, and frankly, the staff was proud of what they were able to do. That's a pretty dramatic example, but it is the kind of thing that the DIFS staff want to do and can do for your members. So I would urge you to go to our website and look at it and give that information to your staff. I like to come up here and do commercials. It's kind of fun. The next one is not quite so much fun. This morning, first thing in the morning, there was a seminar, a meeting on internal fraud, which had standing room only attendance. And for obvious reasons, for the last 6 months or so, I've had many people ask me about fraud and the impact on one particular credit union. Well, I can't go into those details, but many have asked me, what do I do? How do I prevent fraud in my credit union or limit it so it doesn't damage my credit union? And I'd like to tell you that I discovered a great new, easy-to-do thing. John and I started talking about this almost the first day that he brought me the bad news about the fraud situation. What do we learn and how can we do better? Well, at the end of the day, it's just good, old-fashioned, good governance. It's the board of directors, the CEO, the management team, the staff, the supervisory committee, your external auditor, all doing their job, all paying attention actually looking at the transactions, questioning transactions, being willing to question each other as to whether that transaction's appropriate. That person being able to, for example, maybe do investments, do the wire, and do the general ledger. Do you think that might be bad? It is bad. So you have to be engaged. You have to be willing to question. You board members and supervisory committee members, you work for the members. It is the members who you have the duty of loyalty to, and you have to have that serious responsibility that you do every day and a focus that you have every day. It's absolutely great if you have good policies and you have division of responsibility and checks and balances, but really, if that's just in paper someplace in your credit union and that's not the way you operate, you are setting yourself up for a potential fraud. And I urge you, all of you, whether you're board, management, everybody that's here, to think about it, get the white paper that they produced, and maybe at your next board meeting or management meeting, take a look at your operation and try to figure out, are we doing the right thing? Are we actually carrying out what's in our policies? Heck, are our policies good? Because that's the way you're going to prevent it. You can have all kinds of fancy reports and everything, but it really is the hard work of running a credit union or the hard work of being a leader on the board of directors. So unfortunately, that's not my easy solution, but I think it's ultimately the solution for fraud. The next thing is a little more pleasant. So Dave, I want you to make sure you are sitting down because I'm going to be nice to you. For those of you who don't know me, Dave and I have had a little comedy act that we've done for, I don't know how many years you've been here. 15? Oh, 19. See, I already was trying to cut it short for him. Anyway, we did get legislation passed just recently that you're going to see in a minute, and I won't really talk about the legislation, but I want to talk about the leadership that Dave Adams and Ken Ross showed during the process of getting it done. It was not an easy process, but sort of a great thing happened because these two leaders and the leaders of the Michigan Bankers Association and the Community Bankers Association all realized that if they worked together, they could find common items that they could agree on that could go into a bill that would help the credit unions and another set of bills that are going to help the bankers. And that is cooperation that really isn't that frequent downtown Lansing. I can tell you now by my experience. But they showed great leadership. Was it easy? No. I think people say, was it frank and open and direct conversations at times? Ken, were they? Very frank. But at the end of the day, they made compromises so everybody could win. And creating win-wins is a great thing for leadership. And so I acknowledge and want to thank you for your leadership and your team's efforts in getting it passed, and my team's. Janita actually did 90% of the work. I just showed up from time to time. So this new legislation makes the Michigan Charter just a little bit better, makes it a little bit easier for you all to operate your credit unions, or at least gives you more flexibility in how you want to operate your credit union. So I'm going to do another commercial. In the last 3 years, 6 federal credit unions have converted to state charters, and the first of next month, another credit union is going to convert. And so I would say to you during your management meetings or your strategic planning meeting, give some thought. Maybe you'd like to be a state chartered credit union. I actually had somebody stop me this morning and say it was the great thing that they did. They were able to open up a branch where they wanted to put a branch and how great it was. And I won't embarrass you by pointing out your name that you said something nice to the director of DIFS, but I appreciated those comments because it fit right with what I wanted to do this morning. but I'd ask you to give it some consideration. John, stand up and wave your arms. If you don't know John, John would meet you any place in the world, probably especially someplace warm in the winter, to talk about converting from a federal to a state, and obviously I would too. It does have one additional benefit that you may not think about, and that is we're in Lansing, and just think, you would almost be sort of in a way my boss again, and you would be able to come and yell at me if we do something wrong. So I say that in a teasing way, but that is a big advantage because we're available and we're willing to talk to you, and we really want your input and conversation. I've had a handful of you just this morning and last night give me updates on what you told me last year. So, but you know, DIFS is not perfect, but we're working hard to improve it, and especially the examination team is. And John would like your feedback on anything on the examination team or any of our rules and processes. So in closing, what I'd really like to do is say again, thank you for everything that you do. You truly make a difference in the lives of your members, and far more than you realize. Maybe you got to step away a little bit to see just how important it is. And so I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to say a few words this morning. I'll introduce you. Dave Adams stood up because he thought I was going to introduce him. I am going to introduce you. You can come up. I'm actually going to say, you know, something nice. Well, maybe not. It is my pleasure, I'll be serious for a second, to introduce Dave Adams. He truly has made a difference via his leadership of the Michigan Credit Union League. When you hear the amount of money that Pete's making every year for him, it's just absolutely amazing, or I guess it's for all of you. So it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Dave Adams.
Wow, thank you, Pat. I texted my staff during those kind comments and said, please signal Pat that he has more time if he'd like to take it. But seriously, what a great thing for Michigan to have a former credit union CEO and a leader of Pat's stature heading up DIFS. And we really appreciate Pat's leadership in helping, from a regulatory perspective, to work with the bankers and with the credit union industry to get this important legislation through. I also thank Pete Gates, our chairman. He's done a terrific job and continues to do so, leading CUSG. Well, it's my great honor here to introduce our governor, and I'm going to say a few words, and then we're going to play a video to introduce the governor, and we'll be honored to hear from him. But I want to give you a little bit of perspective. I have been a CEO of state trade associations for 28 years. I know I don't look that old, but I wish. But nine years in Utah and Washington, not once was the credit union industry honored in those states to have a governor speak at one of our events. And 19 years here in Michigan, yes, Governor Granholm did attend and speak once or twice, I believe, and we were honored by that. But now, 5 years into his term as governor, Rick Snyder will honor our credit union industry by speaking to close to 1,000 credit union volunteers and staff and representing the credit union industry in Michigan. This will be his third visit to this stage to honor us with his presence and with his words. This is not a time when, as I introduce the governor, I suggest that obviously when you serve in a high political office, it's not always a picnic. There are a lot of slings and arrows, and there's some tough times politically. A lot of things get politicized. But I want to challenge us to put our politics aside as we welcome our governor and realize a couple of things. On the issues that matter to credit unions and their members, close to half of the population here in Michigan, we're one of the strongest credit union states in the nation. When it came time to consider tax reform in Michigan early in his tenure, working with Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, he stood strong in support of the credit union tax-exempt status, which is so fundamental and so important to encouraging credit unions to remain not-for-profit financial institutions doing the good that they do and the good that you do in Michigan. Our tax exemption has been preserved and supported consistently. When it came time and continues to be time to strengthen our charter, as witnessed by this important legislation, the governor and his administration encouraged and supported the passage of this important State Credit Union Act modernization legislation. That matters greatly to credit unions. Third, when it comes time to consider reducing regulatory burden, the governor has been passionate about getting rid of unnecessary regulations that burden all businesses, including financial institutions, that free the way for credit unions to do what they want to do, which is serve their members and communities. So by all measures, it goes without saying, but I'm proud to stand here and say it, that Governor Rick Snyder is a strong, passionate supporter of credit unions, what they do, and how they help move Michigan forward. So please join me as we watch the screen to play a short video to welcome Governor Rick Snyder.